And we're live again. So we got a few stories suggested just now, which are added to the list. Um, yeah. Let's see. I'll work on those in the next session, in the next break. Right now, I'm gonna read you a story called "Mother May I." It's sad and slice of life. It's by Moabite. It's 1,600 words, so it's not really long. It's sad and slice of life, rated everyone. Description: Derpy explains her medical condition to her daughter. So, here we go. This is going to be Mother May I by Moabite. Derpy brushed a stick of charcoal across the page, tracing the imagined outline of a glittering lake. She was curled up on the ground of her living room, relishing in this brief chance to indulge in her hobbies. A few feet away, Dinky sat in front of the crackling fire, one of her cherished books held in her front hooves. Her lips moved around the words she read, trying each one for size. The fire cast the flickering shadows on the wall of the room, turning the garish orange wallpaper into a window through which figures danced and swayed to the beat of the inaudible song. The shade of the coal scuttle became a boat rocking on the choppy seas beneath a crimson lightning storm shining through Derpy's wineglass. A second log caught alight and the scene split into two, painting it on the opposite sides of the walls, overlapping in parts. Derpy swept the charcoal about, and the rapidly vanishing blank space on the paper revealed a sky flecked with bright stars and a tremendous full moon. Dinky started nodding her head to each of the syllables as she mouthed. Derpy recognized it as a sign that she was having difficulty with a word. "Spell it out for me, Dinky," she said. Dinky pulled the book closer to her face and placed a hoof on the page, running from left to right along the offending word. Behavior. Behavior. You know that one, Dinky. Be on your best behavior. I'm always on my best behavior, said Dinky. Derpy smiled and reached out for her wine. Suddenly, her vision doubled from her fumbling hoof, and her fumbling hoof knocked against the glass, sending its contents spilling across the cream-colored carpet. She cursed loudly before she could stop herself. Then she put both her hoofs to her mouth and looked at Dinky, who stared back wide-eyed and book forgotten. "I'm sorry, Dinky. I said a bad word. Don't you say things like that, even if I do sometimes." Dinky looked scared. "Mommy, your eyes have gone all funny." Derpy moved a hoof to her right eye, covering it and reducing the number of Dinkies who was seeing just the one. Her remaining eye focused on the young unicorn, whose face was filled with concern. "I'm fine, Dinky. Come sit over here for a minute." She patted the floor in front of her. Dinky obediently closed her book, put it neatly on the bookshelf, and knelt down in front of Derpy. She was such a good filly. Derpy hated to see her upset. It was better to explain this now than to have her worry. She uncovered her eye again, which tremendously scrutinized the curtains while the other watched Dinky. "It's called strabismus, or a lazy eye. It doesn't just look in the right direction sometimes, so I find it hard to know how far away things are. I'm having trouble reading too. I've been getting on and off recently, but the doctors are treating it, and hopefully it'll all be better soon, so don't worry." "Does it hurt?" "No," she lied. Derpy had some free time between the end of the end of her morning shift and the time she had to pick up Dinky from school. She had decided to supplement her income with some part-time work at Boxy Brown's moving company. A mail-mare salary didn't go far for a single mom anymore. Her friend Raindrops was rattling off a stream of off-color jokes as they loaded the cart, hovering high in the air. Derpy closed her eyes and laughed wildly. While she opened them again, her vision swam. She had a brief moment of disorientation and dropped the box heavily onto the back of the cart, tilting the whole vehicle backwards. The hauler strapped to the front cried out as they struggled to bring it level again, but it was too late. Some of the cargo started to slide along the wooden planks towards the back. Raindrops threw herself at the boxes and beat her wings as hard as she could, but more and more weight slid down against her. "Derpy!" she cried. "The ramp! Close the ramp!" Derpy grabbed the ramp and slammed it shut over the back of the cart. She reached for the latch, but without depth perception, she fell short by less than an inch. She didn't get another chance to try it before Raindrop's hindquarters struck the ramp, knocking it open again and wrenching it out of Derpy's grip. The two watched in horror as the cargo spilled into the empty air and tumbled end over end to the waiting ground below. Boxy fixed them with an icy glare, and all Derpy could do was grin apologetically. The insurance had covered the damage, and Boxy decided to let the incident go, but Derpy couldn't get back to work for him for fear that it would happen again. She had gone home that evening and cried in frustration, cursing her affliction, her stupidity, and her uselessness. "Yes, it hurts sometimes." "No, it doesn't hurt. It's just a bit of a nuisance." "How did it happen?" asked Dinky. "Well, in this case it's hereditary. That means a lot of people in our family get it. My auntie Daisy in Canterlot has it, and my grandfather has it. It's possible you'll get it too. That's why it's so important that we catch it early. You know when you go for checkups and Nurse Redheart shines the light in your eyes?" Dinky nodded. "That's her checking for lazy eye." "I don't like going to the doctor," Dinky said absently. Derpy stamped her hoof sharply on the floor. "Well, you have to." She regretted it immediately as Dinky flinched at the sudden outburst. She shrank back and tried to relax. "I'm sorry, Dinky. I just don't want you having the same problems I do." The sun shone from its afternoon peak over Ponyville as Derpy swooped down towards the main street and the brightly colored post office. Her morning run had been particularly strenuous today, with nearly double the number of magazines for the houses as usual. Their covers had been adorned by beautiful yellow Pegasus with a pink mane who Derpy was sure to recognize, but couldn't place a hoof on the name. Her muscles were tense and sore as she yawned widely. As she did, her right eye refocused on a distant mountain peak, while her left remained straight. Derpy reared back from her descent onto the post office roof, unsure how close it could be. Panicking, she banked right into her blind spot, and one of her wings clipped on the town hall flagpole, driving it painfully into her flank. Her other barely held her aloft for a moment before she dipped gracelessly onto the busy street below. She hit the ground hard and tumbled head over heels before slamming face first into the dirt. Groaning, she raised her head, though duplicitous sight. She became aware of the crowd that had gathered. A few concerned ponies squatted in front of her, telling her not to move and checking her for injuries. The number of onlookers held back, whispering to each other. As they caught sight of her eyes, the whispers intensified with a few pointed hoofs at her. Far at the back, some pony couldn't see and laughed out loud. Derpy was aware of the reputation for clumsiness that stunt had earned her. It was true that she was a bit awkward, but the rumor had exaggerated it beyond recognition. Since then, any offers she gave to friends to help out with tasks were politely refused, as if she was going to break things as soon as she got near them. That wasn't the life she wanted for her daughter. Derpy held still as Dinky walked around her, looking into her mother's mismatched eyes, and tilting her head quizzically when the right eye refocused to follow her motions. Eventually, Dinky sat back down. "Mommy, if I had strabismus, would you still love me?" Derpy was taken aback. "Of course I'd still love you, Dinky. Nothing could make me stop loving you. The tiny filly got on all fours again and trotted over to Derpy. She wrapped her front hooves around her mother's neck and hugged tightly. Me too. Derpy smiled and hugged back. They held the embrace for a long time before Derpy gently detached the filly's grip on her. Go get your book. Dinky retrieved the book from her shelf and returned to Derpy, who was now lying on her side with a wing extended. Dinky nestled herself under the soft feathers and placed the book in front of her. Okay, said Derpy. Let's read this together. I'll help you with the big words, and you will help me if I lose my place. Deal? Deal. In the fireplace, a log rolled over and dropped into the heart of the flames. The twin silhouettes became one again, clear and crisp. And that was the story. Mother, may I? Let's see. We'll be back at the hour sharp because 4 minutes break is too short. So we'll be back in, let's see, 19 minutes. Or is that too long? I don't know. We'll be back in 19 minutes. Until then, you have time to select a story. So, yeah, that's how we're gonna do it.